Good afternoon, Americans. This is your favorite alien here in the afternoon of Tuesday, July 13th, 2021, sitting in for Paul Harvey this evening. Stand by for the rest of the story. Well, the rest of the story today is on AC versus DC. And the conflicts because of the people of the late 19th century, and the story will let you know what the conflict is. All of you were educated and taught that Thomas Alva Edison invented the incandescent light bulb back in 1879. That he did. And then he formed the Edison Company and started to electrify the world, as he put it, with his direct current, DC. He had an upstart that came in from Eastern Europe, and his name was Nicholas Tesla. And he was an interesting guy and a puzzling guy for all his life. Now, Tesla, like Edison, was an inventor, and he had more in his mind than Edison did. Edison may have had more patents than Tesla, but Tesla had more insights and accumulation of how to manage a technology than Edison did, and that would cost Edison later in his life. And here we are in the late 1880s, late 19th century Earth here, and your planet, as an alien from another planet, I can say, was ruthless, especially in the late 19th century. Oh, you had some ruthless humans. Ooh. And Edison, unfortunately, was part of them. Viewing your society from an alien point of view, Edison had the right idea. He wanted to electrify the nation, and it was a new technology. But Nicholas Tesla saw another way. Instead of direct current, he used alternating current, also called AC, thus AC and DC. And that started a feud that developed into a full-scale military war on AC and DC. And Edison got himself a backer, J.P. Morgan, whose dad, Mr. Morgan, didn't like the fact that he was backing Edison, who he considered a not-so-good character. And he didn't want his son to put the Morgan name into, things that could backfire on you and you could go down in a heap of smoke. Because that's usually what happens with new technologies. Nicholas Tesla, he worked for Edison and then he quit because Edison wouldn't even consider his AC. And he found himself a inventor slash entrepreneur with a little money, George Westinghouse. And he started to form his AC modifications to DC and plants. And there was a humongous war in the press, in the public, and money between AC and DC. And Morgan wanted to win at all cost. So in those days, you had the patent and you had everything, so you were getting money for it. That's what Edison was hoping he would get, and Tesla did too. It kind of stifled George Westinghouse a little bit because he didn't have the money that J.P. Morgan did. Now, what happened here is Edison went on the dark side. I mean, he went way out there. And Wow. He went as far as to try to prove that AC was a dangerous technology. And there was a thing that people were saying that hanging at the time was inhumane, okay? So Edison decided to prove himself right and Nikola Tesla wrong. And he decided to write to this prison in Pennsylvania, I believe it was, and he would build an electric chair with the AC technology. Okay? And he did. And the first human was put on Sparky, otherwise known as the electric chair. Needless to say that Edison didn't understand AC too much as he did DC, but he wanted to prove AC wrong. And it ended up, the poor guy who got executed got actually crispy crittered. I mean, he got cooked from the inside out. You can imagine how that played in late 19th century papers. Ooh, Edison was crucified because it wasn't Nikola Tesla or the AC, it was Edison who did this. And that put J.P. Morgan in a position where his father told him, get rid of Edison, and anything Edison, sell it. Okay? Now, J.P. Morgan, unlike his father, he wanted to prove that he was going to own everything. George Westinghouse, on the other hand, was in trouble because Morgan was taking all his assets away because he controlled the stock market. And what he said went. So he was buying everything at Westinghouse and at a short and making Westinghouse lose money, and he was almost bankrupt. So Nikola Tesla told Mr. Westinghouse that, hey, the invention is more than me. It's for the human condition, to save and increase the human race better than it was. He was kind of my planet type people, not yours, okay? That's all I can say about Nikola Tesla. He was more of my people than yours. The way he thought, the way he did things, is the way our Ontarians do things. And he gave all his patents to Mr. Westinghouse. With that in mind, Mr. Westinghouse now had extra money and went ahead and did that. And they made a bid in 1893 because the World's Fair was going to be held in Chicago. And Chicago wanted to make this big because they had the fire of 1871, and this was the first big thing that came to their city. And Chicago was an up-and-coming city, soon to become second city. So they got Nikola Tesla and Westinghouse to electrify their city, World's Fair. And in 1893, you had J.P. Morgan and Edison, Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla in Chicago. Tesla won, but you also had another guy, H.H. Holmes, the most deadliest serial killer ever, even today, who was killing people during the exposition of 1893, World's Fair. Yeah. Well, the people liked the technology. It blew them away that alternating current could do, and no way could Edison match that. So Edison and J.P. Morgan, which J.P. Morgan's dad had died by this time, so he had control of the Morgan Company, big time. They decided to put all their eggs and bid on the biggest project at the time was the plant they were building in Niagara Falls to electrify a lot of the eastern United States and western or eastern Canada at that time. It was bigger than the Panama Canal would be. And Tesla and Westinghouse also submitted a bid. And because of the Wells Fair in 1893, two letters were sent out. One saying, yippee, and one saying, oh, so sorry. J.P. Morgan and Edison got the, oh, so sorry letter. And Westinghouse and Tesla got the, hey, yay. So they started to do the Niagara Falls plant with AC, alternating current. And everybody thought, this is the end of J.P. Morgan. He is gone. Now, J.P. Morgan saw in the writings, he bought all a stock of Edison Company. He went to Edison and said, oh, so sorry, boy. But he said, this is my company. He says, no, it isn't. I own it now. And the name is going to be changed from Edison Company to the General Electric Company, GE. Everybody knows GE, right? And he switched GE from direct current to alternating current. And he also started buying up a lot of other stuff. Therefore, GE was not only in the electric business, it was in the washer business, eventually the refrigerator business, the TV business, everything GE. And that was because of J.P. Morgan. He also went over to Westinghouse and told him he was done on the electric business. And he also bought the patents from Nikola Tesla from Westinghouse, therefore becoming the most powerful guy in the world at the time, late 19th century, was J.P. Morgan. He was a monopoly before the word even existed. He controlled the U.S. Treasury, he controlled the U.S. government, and he controlled you. But he knew that AC had won and DC was out. And so was Thomas Alva Edison, to be relegated to the fact that he was the one who invented the bulb. And Nikola Tesla was the one that invented AC. But the one that put it all through the United States would have been J.P. Morgan and GE. And now you know the rest of the story. Sitting in for Paul Harvey this afternoon, this is your favorite alien. Good day.